Hi everyone, good morning. So for today, I'm focusing on the causes of structural injustice. And if you look at the campaign that was started decades ago to make poverty history in England, it wasn't designed specifically for Africa, it wasn't designed for Europe, it wasn't designed for Canada. It was a global pledge to lift people out of poverty. And that was one of the reasons that I got interested in it, because I come from a poor family. I come from a poor background, having grown up in Zimbabwe. We initially lived in municipal houses. So we lived in houses that were rented from the government, and there was nothing wrong with them. They were big houses. They had verandas, bedrooms, internal plumbing, but they were not our own properties. And then later on, we moved into our own properties that were built by our family. So structural injustice is something that Canada is looking at now, and the causes are the same as they are in the rest of the world. It's people coming from families where they haven't inherited wealth, discrimination against your voice, the way you talk, your age. Sometimes it's you're too young, other times it's you're too old, your accent, your place of origin. It can be things that are put into place that are supposed to help you to get the good paid jobs, like having a basic degree, having your masters, having your credentials. But even when people get all that, like me, we are still blocked out of good paying jobs. Wages are deliberately kept low in countries, and raising them too high would put companies out of business. So there's no one clear solution to it. The other things that are impacting us are global floods. El Nino is expected to be worse this year. So temperature extremes are getting more and more. So the heat we're experiencing is killing people, it's killing plants, it's killing animals. And then we have extreme cold, which is also doing that. And our world seems to be in a perfect storm. So it seems like no matter what they put in place, no matter what policies they put in place, nothing seems to be working. We don't have that hope we had in the 80s, where things were coming together, where nations were rising up and countries were working together to raise the standards of living. In fact, now the nations that are doing the best and expected to do the best are in Africa. So the growth rates that you saw in Canada, those 4% and above, those growth rates are going to come from Africa. They're not going to come from these countries. These countries had those growth rates in the 60s and the 50s, and this is coming from the reporters like on CBC, other platforms in Canada. So the growth is going to come from Africa, because that's where the resources are, that's where the young population is. And when people come to places like America and Canada, you don't expect to be going on to food banks, to have electricity support, to not be able to provide for your families. And in Canada, we're in a place where people are losing their homes, they're losing their livelihoods. This happened to me in 2017, where I couldn't persuade the banks to renew my mortgage, not Tangerine anyway, and TD couldn't take it over. They were willing to take the mortgage over, but it was blocked. So when there's this kind of systemic injustice, it's leading to the economy shrinking, because the supports that they want to put in place are not working. Ontario Works is not a solution that helps people to build sustainable lives. So they are listening to the old school way of thinking that says you should only spend 30% of your income on your rent. So you're supposed to spend $200 on your rent. Where in the world can you rent something for $200? There's no way in the world. Unless you're going to buy a tent and go live in that tent and create tent grounds, and that won't be safe and it won't be sustainable. So the solutions that we need are solutions that are sustainable, that are long-term. And I've learned that I don't need to accept help with restrictions put on me in the name of it being for my own good or other people's concerns because of their life experience. But their life is not my life. And many countries are taking their citizens back, especially from nations like South Africa. South Africa has never been a welcoming nation, so I don't know really why all the other African nations, like people from those nations, are flooding there. They've never been welcoming. They're not welcoming of foreigners, of people from different nations. They are very protectionist. And it's not like their country is the most beautiful country in the world. It's not. The education system in Zimbabwe is good. The education system in other African nations is just as good, the infrastructure. But it's the investment, it's the creation of jobs that we need. And then the other thing is they don't provide the capital. So they'll say we'll provide it for an organization or a community group. But for individuals, there's no support here in Canada. So if you want to form a non-profit, you need at least 3 people to form that non-profit. I mean, it's easy enough to do the accounting and all of that. All of us have got the software today to do that. But you need at least 3 people. And you need people to be looking in the same direction. And if people are not looking in the same direction as you, it becomes very difficult. So these are the systemic barriers that are put in place. And it is systemic because they planned it. They planned it at the World Economic Forum to say that you are going to rent and be happy. And nobody is happy. I mean, reporters in Australia had told them this is not going to work. In which planet do people want to rent? People want to own their homes. People want to know that their private property is theirs. People don't want to rent. And even all these things that the billionaires are trying to do, like building bunkers underground or building self-sufficient homes like off the coast, even those things are not going to work. Because when you have this butterfly effect, something that happens in Africa eventually lands up affecting all of us. And even if they build self-contained bunkers and they store their food and they have their own venting system, the air conditioning, it's not going to work because like with COVID, it will be in the air, whatever is killing people. Some of the plants even turn against humans and animals. We saw a few years ago how the sharks were coming right up to the shore and they were attacking people. So it's about how we live in communion with each other. And some people have entertained angels, like the Bible tells us. They've entertained angels unaware by entertaining the strangers. So South Africa is not the best country in Africa. People have this mindset that in South Africa there'll be jobs, there'll be opportunities, but it's not. South Africa is sinking. It's got some of the best places in the world, yes. Its rand is coming up, yes. The crops are coming up, yes. But so is Zimbabwe. And it depends on where you're getting your information from, how you're looking at it. The African nations are the ones now where the growth is coming from. That's why UN wants to move their headquarters there. That's why IMF has big offices there. Because people are not uneducated in Africa. They're educated just like people here. They have the same systems in place, the same structures in place, even better. So it just depends on where you get that opportunity. Because I know for me here, I face systemic injustice. I took cleaning jobs, I took jobs like doing painting, I took whatever work I could get. And even after having all the credentials now, all the experience, all the skills to mentor others, to help others, even with all that, I'm not getting a job. So that's why I'm saying it's systemic injustice. And it doesn't just affect me, but I'm sharing my story because I'm the one looking for a job for myself. I'm the one that wants to buy a property for myself. And putting conditions on people, saying that we're not going to help you unless you get psychiatric help, it's not going to work because that's a violation of human rights. If I had been somebody that had murdered someone, or I was keeping pornography in my home, or I had abuse pictures all over my home, or I had violated somebody's human rights, then yeah, you can demand a psychiatric assessment and you can demand psychiatric treatment, but I've done nothing to you. And that confirmation has come from my friends, it's come from people I went to high school with, people who have been watching my posts for decades, to say that what's happening to you is not just happening to you, it's happening to people that are my graduate students, people that have been in Canada and America for decades, people who are the hardest hit by poverty. And even if you take something like this to the courts will kick it out, because it's a violation of somebody's human rights. And furthermore, it's not biblical. If you want to help somebody out of the goodness of your heart with financial support or spreading the word or letting somebody know that, you know what, I saw this post on LinkedIn and Belinda Fernandez is struggling to get a job. She's trying to build her ministry. She's trying to build her life and she needs financial help. That's fine. But if you don't want to support me because you know I'm on Ontario Works and you know that I've had challenges getting a stable job in Canada, and you're demanding that I get psychiatric help, so you're going to ostracize me, you're going to make sure I'm not included in events, you're going to leave me out, because you are going through in your head over and over and over that a report from decades ago saying that I'm delusional has been disproven, then you're going to hurt yourself. Because you're going to hurt not only me, you're going to hurt the people that love me, and you're in a position of power because you're in a position where you have a job, you have cars, you have properties, you've had stable careers. I haven't. And exacerbating that, I haven't grown up with a dad. So I made the mistake, and it was my mistake, of thinking that my uncles will treat me like their child. They'll love me in the same way. They'll take me in if I need it. They'll help me. I didn't expect for my uncle to tell me, I don't know what you're going to do. What about Jody? And hang up the phone on me when my mother and I were facing extreme hardship. So that was my mistake. But I loved them the way I loved my dad. So that was my problem. But nobody will love me like my dad. And that's something that I had to accept, because my grandfather instilled in me that your uncles and your aunts will never turn you out. They'll never put you out onto the street. They'll never tell you to go on welfare. They'll never leave you to face your battles alone. And my dad's dad was wrong. He was wrong, because only he loved me that way. So he expected everybody else to love me that way. And my dad expected everybody else to love me that way. But they were wrong. So I put my faith in God, and I'm still here. I'm still putting my videos out. I'm still writing. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And I'm still open to going back to Zimbabwe. And I'm still positive. So that's what's important. Like when you're making decisions, make informed decisions. Because there's no growth left in this country. And it's on the news. It's on CBC, it's on CTV, it's in the papers. And they're saying they're not expecting things to change. So why would an educated woman like me stay here knowing that that's what their aims are, that's what their goals are? Oh, retire and take $700 a month and live on that? You must be kidding. My dream and my goal was never to be a millionaire, but it was to be self-sufficient, to have my own property, to have my own car. And that's why people study, that's why people learn, that's why people gain skills. If you want to land up in poverty, why do you go to college? Why do you study? Why do you learn new skills? Just sit at home and be happy with that. Or go live in a hut if you want. That's not my goal. It might be other people's goal for me. Other people might be happy that I'm sitting at home and I don't have a job and I can't earn an income. They might be happy with that, but I'm not. And I'm not giving up on my dreams. And when you're a real success, you will want to help others. You will not put restrictions on them and say, we just want to make sure you're okay. We're so concerned about your mental health. We're so worried about you, because that's on you. Because you're not seeing me clearly for who I am as a graduate, as educated, as somebody who mentors others, as somebody who people come to for help. You're looking at it from your 1950s point of view, and that's why it's not working. And you're being shaped and formed by people who have that same worldview. And then you're wondering why I'm getting support and why I'm getting opportunities, why I'm being allowed to speak for organizations, for companies, why I'm being invited. That's why. Because the problem is not with me. The problem is systemic. And Canada's finally admitting it. That's the good thing.